I just got to the park and started only taking a very few steps of my walk, and then there's these crazy, strange looking ducks with funny faces. They don't look like they can fly. They have really, really small wings. How did they get here? I'm gonna have to look them up later, but this could be part of my theory that I made with myself about how the more we're in the state of love, species just come out of the ether. They come out of the quantum hologram and make themselves known to us. I don't think evolution is really biological, but it's the energy of love that makes these things appear or manifest or what have you. Never seen big ducks like this with vulture faces. This is so incredible. What are these? Wow, you guys, this is such a nice surprise to see something never seen before. Didn't even know existed. They have really small wings.
Still here, eh?
Yeah, I don't know what they are, do you?
I call them a turkey duck. That's what they look like to me. They're ducks.
Have you seen them before?
They've been here for about 4 days straight, right in the same spot.
Oh, but have you seen them in previous years?
No, never.
Wow.
And the way they're not afraid of people, I'm starting to think they got out of somebody's farm or something like that.
Oh, maybe.
I think if they stay there too much longer, the rangers are going to try and catch them and move them.
So have the rangers seen them?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they're definitely one of a kind.
They're really neat.
They are, aren't they?
Do they fly? Like, their wings don't look like
I
they're...
don't know, every day I come here, they're right in the exact same mount, so I don't know if they come and go or if they just sit there all day.
They might just sit there.
There's enough fish in there, I guess, for them to eat and whatnot.
Right.
You know, any other wildlife you get this close to that, it scatters, it goes away.
Yeah.
These guys don't.
It looks like the ones that look like males, the four in the middle, looks like they've had their wings clipped to me.
Now that guy's flashing, yeah, I see what you mean. Wait.
That guy too. They don't look like they can fly.
Yeah,
But some of them look like they maybe can. Like that one.
Yeah. But you're right about them clipped. They do seem short, don't they?
Yeah, on two of them at least.
And it's a family, so I guess they all stick together.
Yep. Be a real shame if some off-leash dog came and massacred them. Yeah, you've got your wings clipped. Or something tried to attack you. I don't know.
No, I didn't buy it. You didn't bring your thing?
I'm at the park and that duck thing, those turkey duck looking things are really cool. Apparently they've been sitting there for 4 days. A lady who's walked this park for 20 years has never seen them, so they've been here for 4 days. Where do they come from? Nobody knows. The rangers might try to relocate them. But it's just kind of cool. They just sort of came out of nowhere. But it looks like 4 of them have their wings clipped, or it doesn't look like a very nice job of wing clipping, so it could have been that they were attacked or are being attacked at night and they fend things off by hissing and flapping their wings, and maybe they're able to do that as a defense together until finally they have no wings and maybe they get eaten or something. But I wouldn't know because I've only seen them today, not the last 4 days. If I would know that, I would tell them to rescue those things now, but I don't know. And the 2 that still have their wings look like females. They're smaller. They have less red on their face. So maybe the males are protecting the females. I don't know. But it's just really fascinating. I come to the park mainly because I wanted to test out this sweat coin app that a friend of mine sent me. And it looks really interesting, not just because of what it's designed to do, but the implications of what they can possibly do even more. Like, this relates a little bit to my idea of what I was thinking, but not really. But what the app does is it counts your steps outside and it converts your steps to what they call sweat coin. And I watched their 1-minute intro video, and basically they're saying movement is a currency, and by using the app one can capture that movement and their algorithm to see if you're walking outside. And then I think if you take 1,000 steps you get 1 sweat coin. And I don't really know what that might convert to in currency, like money. They don't have that part integrated yet, but they said start collecting your sweat coin, and you can get more coin by like sending things to people like in their marketplace. And you can also buy stuff, like for example, there was an iPhone 8 for 20,000 sweat coin. Now I think the maximum you can earn per day is 30 coin. I don't know if that's through steps or through also sending things to people. It must be both, because it'd be really hard to get, well, I guess that'd be 30,000 steps. Some people can do that, but that would be kind of walking a lot of the day. And I was thinking, well, hey, you know, a lot of times homeless people walk a lot of the day. Not the ones that sit, but the ones that collect bottles and stuff. But then it costs money to have the smartphone, so it doesn't really work that way yet. But I just think it's kind of a cool idea. So I wanted to test it out at this park because it connects. I don't have service part of it, I think. So I want to see if how many steps I get outside here converts to steps in that app, or if I have to be connected to a tower. It doesn't really matter that much. Also too, sometimes I connect to the US network, so I'm wondering if when that happens, if it counts the steps in Sweatcoin. So I only want to know that because I might try to walk here more just to test that out. It might actually make a good challenge, especially because I'm kind of winded right now. I'm not in the best shape. I wasn't feeling the greatest the last few days, and I was tired, I didn't get enough sleep, blah, blah, blah. So I just wanted to test this out, and I tried the 30-month trial to get earning 10 a day. I probably won't be able to quite make that, but I could make over 5. So if you want to earn over 10 a day, you have to pay like 5 Sweatcoin a month. So that's like half a day's work if you get the 10,000. So it probably doesn't make sense, but I'm just testing it out, and I just thought, wow, they're going to be able to capture a lot of different things and measure them in the future, like being able to capture human movement outside, or human movement, and, you know, rewarding people for moving more, even though on the grand scheme of things it might not add up to much. But imagine 30 Sweatcoin was $30. People might be able to live on $30 a day, or it might make it so a person could basically hike the world and wander the world and be able to live at the same time. You know, just keep walking. That would be interesting, right? So I also have the app Job Spotter, so one can get Amazon gift cards with that too. So, you know, maybe there is really a future. Maybe, of course there's a future, but it's possible that there'll be ways to just sort of move around and do whatever one wants and still able to make some kind of currency. Maybe not earn dollars in that type of economy, but earn Sweatcoin. So, like for example, when I'm in California, I'm going to try to rollerblade as much as I can, and I'm going to test this out to see if it works with rollerblading, because I think it said turn biking, walking, and something else into Sweatcoin. So I'm going to test this out, because if I rollerblade a few times a week and I'm able to earn a little bit of this type of coin, that might be cool. And so back to the 20,000 Sweatcoin, that would take, at 30 coin a day, which is high, like even at 10, I think I measured 10, and it would take like 2,000 days, which is like, what, 5 or 6 years or something, I think. So that's a long time to earn an iPhone 8. Like, one could earn that with dollars a heck of a lot quicker. But this could be a cool and non-intrusive way of doing that. But of course, they're tracking people's movements, and you know, they'll integrate different things in it. Maybe one time later, Job Spotter will be integrated with Sweatcoin, and it's like it is gamifying walking in a way. It's making it into some kind of currency. I don't know how Job Spotter is able to pay people for their job spots and stuff, but I also think they'll try to create things like this to make certain things in reality salient. Like, hey, take a picture of this brand here and that brand there. So it's programming us to make certain things salient. That's kind of what I like about this Sweatcoin, is just walking outside. It's something I would do anyway. And getting the sweat coin might motivate me to do it a little more. And that's why I want to make sure it works in this park where I like to walk. And then I'll check the rollerblading, and then when I go to California, it's just a matter of having the app running in the background. It does take battery. I have an external battery pack. And I kind of want to be a bit of a wanderer, so another thing I could do one day is go for more walks with people and like walk in dialogue, things like that. Might encourage me to not go the route of trying to do something through the computer. So yeah, I don't know, it's kind of cool. I think it's really interesting, and I feel that one day they might have something that, like I was trying to create, or I was thinking of the idea of some kind of algorithm to do likes in reality. I think there's an episode of Black Mirror that's something like that. Like technology could be used to measure our behavior one day. It might be able to know what we're thinking. It might be able to know what we said to somebody, or what gesture we made, like if we have an Apple Watch or something. And one thing I might want to learn to do, which I don't know is if it's worth it or not, is to take smaller steps, because then I get more steps. And I think generally I don't get as many steps. It's hard for me to get 10,000 steps in a day. Like 6 to 8 is really good if I walk this park for a while, because I take really big steps. I think I take probably twice or a half time more the average step length. I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, taking smaller steps. But if I research it and taking longer steps is healthier, then I wouldn't bother with that. But if it said taking shorter steps is actually better for you, then that would be good to do then. And man, this week I was feeling so dehydrated, especially after the night I took the Nazanan. I felt so dehydrated. And yesterday I felt crazily dehydrated, and I went to a gas station to get some kind of hydrating something. And so I got coconut water, which I thought was a good idea, but I got this brand called One. So I don't know how to do this, or what this is even that I'm doing. I just had my safe tan. When I was tanning, I had a bunch of insights and wanted to get out to record them, but I'm feeling sort of overwhelmed or something. I'm not sure. And I don't know exactly what to do or what order to do it, but I realized even to come out here and start talking with a motive into this, with saying stuff that I remember saying, that's blocking the energy. So I even have to let go sometimes of something that's presented, because I'll be reminded and see-minded and me-minded and what other types of minds are there, but like I had the insight that the power of now, like no wonder it's propagated, because it's about sitting on a park bench and not participating in life and not doing anything. And I subscribed to that notion for quite some time, but now I see that's not it. It's an element, it's a stage, it's a place, it's a part, it's something, but it's not it. Whatever it is, who knows? really know. But when I went for the Save Tan, it's funny, I've been drawn to this baby blue color and this baby pink color. There's so many monkeys and bananas everywhere. I just ate a banana to calm down, actually, because I felt too much like a monkey. I nicknamed myself Rafiki yesterday and likes The Lion King, and she was thinking of watching Forrest Gump, and so was I, and Forrest Gump was on the table at Value Village, but the sequel, Gump and Company, just randomly out of the bookshelf. And she said people were talking about it at her work and making references, and not too long ago I wikied it to find out all the historical references. So there's something with that movie, and there's something with like The Lion King and The Little Mermaid and certain movies that I don't know why that guy's looking at me. I don't know. Maybe because I'm talking to myself in a car. And maybe being a little bit animated. Oh, and that lady's looking at me too. Well, people should be used to it by now with all the Bluetooth, and now there's Bluetooth in the cars. But I guess where I was going with that was to get back in track, on track, out of track, off track. These words, they're strange. But anyways, so the blue color, I bought a blue Lululemon headband, baby blue. I've been attracted to these two colors. And I bought these stupid tanning goggles at this dollar store. And they didn't really work because they were straight. And so finally when insight sort of came, or what have you, I realized, hey, bend it. Duh. So I bent it, and now they work like a charm. So I put them on, and I turn on the tanning lights, and lo and behold, there's baby pink. And it looks so pretty. And then I close my eyes, and I open them. I don't know if it was the closing and opening process or what, but there is baby blue, and it looks like I'm looking at the clear blue sky, and it said, I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. And this morning I thought it was going to be raining, and I opened up the blinds, and it was a beautiful clear day. And even so, when I first got there to my tanning appointment, I was afraid I was going to be late. It was 9:11, which is that silly number I always see. But my appointment was for 9. I walk in, and the room was being used anyway, so it didn't matter. And I felt better, and I told her I felt better about not being late. She said, I thought it was going to be rainy today. Everyone was telling me it was going to be rainy. And I was like, yeah, I thought so too. That's what I thought, because I checked days ago. Then I thought, well, I was just talking about how we need to know the weather more often here because it changes so much. So we almost need to be told, because that way we can be prepared with the different clothes we need for the day or whatnot, because we kind of need to know, and that way we're not wasting time adjusting to outside things. We can just flow, because we do have the things in technology to flow. And so she mentioned that, and so it was interesting. And then I had the insight to make sure that, like, weather alert, storm coming, like right now, so change, or whatever. So we're comfortable, so we don't have to think about our body, because holy crap, I can't even remember that I have a body right now, which we need to remember, but we forget things when we're in this flow state, because it's just sort of one entity. We forget that there's this me body that needs to eat. And yesterday, after we were having this great conversation, and she playfully bought some makeup, she forgot to take her makeup, because she's not thinking, me, my makeup, blah, blah, blah. She just forgot. And I often, in Santa Barbara was the first time, I was talking to this lady, and so excited that she had dates, and she gave me different little sample packs of dates to purchase for a low price, that I was about to walk away without paying. So I can see myself not paying and not taking my stuff. And then I realized, hey, I don't need to sell my iPhone. I can just keep it for the place, which is cool. And also,
So with the weather thing, we could change, and so she gave me that insight. And then I realized, well, I need to get things delivered to my house because I'm going to forget to pay, and it's hard to get around, and it's stressful to make appointments because I can't get there on time. Like this morning, I woke up and the insights were just flowing so much that it was crazy, and I realized, hey, it was weird. I bought that like tie-dye colored doll. Oh my God, and this happened. Oh, fuck, this should happen now. And I wanted one with a pink head and a blue head. And today I see pink and blue in the morning in the goggles. And then I had the insight that, like, no wonder it's the doll like she did. Like, I woke up and I saw the doll and I wanted to hug it and I squeezed it and it felt so nice. Just to give this squishy doll a hug. And then I had the intuition to, like, bring it around with me like a child would bring a doll around. And then I went to the bathroom and I saw that thing, that plastic piece I put hanging there, and I realized, hey, I'm always running back and forth to write some of this stuff down. I do need real-time recording stuff that I can just have on me all the time. And I opened one of my boxes that came yesterday, and it was my camera. So I got distracted trying to put the battery in and everything, and I do have it with me. But that brings me back to, after the tan, I'm changing, and I sit down and I look, and there's a Maclean's magazine, and there's Oprah on the cover with her big O face. Because, you know, they always, if it's a controversial article, they make some kind of silly photo. And on page 54, which is my number, there's an article about how most of her self-help gurus, they admit they're frauds. And I was like, I was just talking about that like 2 days ago, or yesterday, about how no wonder they let the power of now propagate. Not that he's the guru that's a fraud. I'm sure he is in a great state. But what is that great state even really doing? Like, it's passing along more amnesia and more, okay, let's just sit here like we're dead until we die, instead of being so in the head. So let's sit here like we're dead instead of being in the head. And that's like another pacification, another drug. Because there is still that energy underneath that is going to explode. And it's going to explode in a quote-unquote bad way. More and more, and the heavier it explodes, I don't know. But it's all in order. So the subjective perception of something being bad is order. So I saw the wisdom. She said, oh, something. I should have brought that carrying case. Because some of this stuff that's unknown to the other people needs to be recorded without them knowing. Because that way it's just spontaneous and random, and it will pass along that way of interacting without saying, oh, this is how you should act. I don't want to talk about how I act. So action needs to be immediate and spontaneous and not talked about, just acted. There's my lady who brought me the mugwort. Maybe. Very knowledgeable lady. I don't know. It needs to be real time. I can see that much. And then there needs to be a space, sort of a space to be and play. And does that space need to be created first, or what? I believe I can trust in that.
I didn't see that they added natural flavor, like natural coconut flavor to coconut water. It tasted really gross, but I drank most of it anyway for the hydration factor. But when I opened it, it smelled kind of like poofy, like whew. And then I tasted it, and it tastes like over the top unnatural coconut. It's like they used like rotten coconut water and then put this natural flavoring of coconut in it to cover it up. So ew, I'll never get that again. It was really gross. But I think it did help me to feel a bit more hydrated today. Oh, and I'm not going to put too much creed into this app until one learns how the coins translate to dollars. Because maybe I don't want to buy the stuff on there, and it takes a long time to get 20,000 of these to say buy an iPhone 8. An iPhone 8 is probably like maybe $1,000. I don't know. Maybe $1,000 US, or maybe less. So 20,000 coin, which would take, that's like, you might think, oh, I'm gonna get $20,000 for 20,000 coin, sweat coin, but it's like $1,000 if that's what the iPhone 8 is. So so that's 20 times less. So 30 sweat coin in a day might end up being like $1. So, you know, it's nice to get $1 a day, but it might be like 50 cents a day. But that's better than nothing. And I think the thing of it is, though, they have this thing like get a sweat coin for sending this ad to a friend, or this product, or this whatever. So that could wear out pretty quickly. Because that one thing could be like, when people find out it's like 0.001 of a cent, it's not really going to be helpful, but it could change over time too. But just testing it out for fun. And yeah, it seems like there'll be more things like this out in different ways and things like that, so yesterday, I got rid of the last 2 bags of the mess I made of all those shredded papers, and so they're at the bottom of garbage cans that will be lifted by a big truck and not people. So it's pretty much perfect. And I'm getting hungry, so I'm gonna have a Lara bar. I had some Yorkshire tea this morning instead of mate or coffee, and took my vitamins that I take on an empty stomach, and it made me feel kind of sick. I had to drink a kombucha and take some probiotics, and now I feel better. And I only had 2 dates with my vitamins I take in the morning that I take with food, about half an hour to an hour after the ones without food. And now I feel okay. But I'm feeling tired, a little dehydrated. I'm thinking that taking the overnight oats could have partly dehydrated me, because I think oats absorb a lot of water and probably take a lot of water to process. So it could have been that too. I have some oats in my fridge that were for overnight, but I didn't eat them this morning because I felt sick and I didn't want to throw up overnight oats. So yeah, and I didn't take tyrosine or DLPA or SAMe or methylfolate this morning because I took it yesterday because I didn't have enough sleep and I had a really long day and I wanted to have some energy and positivity because it was a fun day. But not today because having trouble sleeping a bit still. But last night I took half a Zopicone. I was only taking a quarter, but I really wanted to have a good sleep. And I did sleep well and I woke up feeling really refreshed. So I'm kind of liking the Zopicone. Hey, I just figured out the crack in the table is a natural phone holder. That's cool. I haven't had one of these in like a week because I was making food. And these are portable food. So interesting. A guy walked by the garbage can, recycle can and stuff, and I heard a can drop and I saw it, but I didn't see him do it. And he was walking by that spot right then and there, so I was kind of like, well, obviously he just dropped the can on the ground and didn't even care. But I wasn't judging it, I was just observing it. And then it came to mind that perhaps when clear perception sees that, it changes, like the universe sees that. Can the universe see through some of our eyes when we're not judging? And so he walked down the path and, you know, maybe he went to the washroom or something. And then he came back. When he came back, he picked up the can and put it in the recycling, which it's one of those things you have to put your hand up. It's like bear-proof cans, so those are kind of annoying to open, and sometimes I think they're icky. But he picked it up. So had I been like, which I don't do, I don't say things to people about that usually, because the universe sees, and that's a different action. So he might have thought, oh, she saw or something, and then so when he came back, he picked it up. So, you know, give people a chance to figure stuff out on their own and not necessarily be like, why did you drop that can? That's littering. And I didn't see him drop it, but I think he did. And then on his way back, like 2 minutes later, he picked it up. So had I said something, which I wouldn't have. Though, yesterday I did say something to 2 little kids who sometimes at the corner for crossing at the lights, there's a bit of a jut out for pedestrians. So then cars can't turn right while there's cars parked to go straight. So then pedestrians are safer. But they were like on the road a little bit. There was like the cement road and then the cement of the sidewalk to go onto the road, which was like good for bikes and stuff. I'm not describing this very well, but they were on the road part of that cement. And I said to them, I said, you know, you need to be careful because sometimes people aren't paying attention and they take the corner a little too close, and they were pretty much on the road and they could get run over. People not seeing them. Somebody was killed at that corner on the other side. That's one of the reasons why they're probably doing those upgrades. So there was a kid on a scooter and his little sister, and they were quite young. I wouldn't think she was more than 10 and he was more than 6 or 7. And I did say something to them because they're little kids and I wouldn't want them to get run over. Hopefully they stay back. Like I always stay back. So anyway, I gave the adult. Well, I didn't give the adult, but he ended up picking it up himself. Yeah, anyway. So I realized that some of the things that I bought recently kind of represent what I want to do. So I bought that optical illusions game. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to today, hopefully. And it represents that the world we live in is kind of an optical illusion. The thoughts we think create salience around things that we've been conditioned with, which make it kind of an optical illusion. And so I just wrote down, thought is an optical illusion that systematizes and conditions salience. It limits it to thought. Thought is salience, what is practical is conditioned. So I'm having a lot of insight today into this sort of stuff. So anyway, the optical illusions, to go out and play that game with people and sort of challenge perception or challenge how the brain makes visual sense of things. And also that little ball that I bought, which is like a puzzle. It's like a representation of pointing back to the process of using one's own brain. So, you know, here I am like wanting to be like, let's look at how weird perception is and how it's not, things aren't what they seem per se. And also here, use your brain and think for yourself and challenge yourself here. And then, you know, the heart cards is like special messages and messages from the heart. And then also, what else? Fun and good sound, like harmonizing sound, like that little musical instrument that I bought. And this morning I started my day by watching a video from Mad TV of Miss Swan at Starbucks. I used to watch that show a little bit when I was younger, and I just thought it was pretty funny. So bringing more humor in and maybe starting the day off with humor. So maybe bringing some of these objects that represent certain processes. So I don't know if I'm really that interested in these objects as much as the processes. So I don't necessarily want to spend money on those types of things because it's just more stuff. But the stuff is that it does help point to certain processes that we take for granted. And like one is what we see. We take that for granted. We don't think that it's conditioned or any kind of optical illusion. And I was thinking about smell today because I have vanilla essential oil in my diffuser right now, and I got this little diffuser for my car and I put vanilla smell on that. And I was thinking about how maybe I won't smell vanilla as much because of how there's so much of it, and the brain eventually decides that certain stimuli aren't important and edits them out or negates them. So that's the way the brain saves room for more information or whatever it does. It starts to ignore that. So I think in the same way our brain has decided that that thought isn't harmful, and so it stops sensing the harm that it's doing. Like we don't smell thought or sense it like we smell a certain smell that we might decide is dangerous or unpleasant. So I think what Dr. David Bohm would say is that thought doesn't have any proprioception of itself. It doesn't sense what it's doing. It says it's not doing anything. It's just observing. But it's actually limiting. And I was thinking about how thought gives us the same internal psychology. We all share the same anger, the same hurt or hate. So it gives us the same sort of theory of mind, and a lot of times our brains are going on and on inside about like the mathematics of psychology, like what's the other person thinking, so what should I do based on what I think they're thinking. It's like a poker game, and when it's doing that, it can't fully look at what's happening now. So if we're in math class doing math, it's really hard to go about walking around in nature and doing math at the same time. We wouldn't be able to see the nature if we have our head in a book doing math. So in the same way, we have our head in this human theory of mind book in our minds, and that sort of like zooms us into that part of the brain. Like we're looking at that part of the brain, we're not looking at what's out there. And then by doing that, we can't see, like we're so busy doing that math of psychology in our heads that we can't see what's happening actually. And the interesting thing is, since we all have that same sort of thought self algorithm going on inside, it makes us all kind of the same. It assimilates us. It makes us mediocre because we're all kind of wasting our energy doing that. And it's interesting that it makes us all the same in that it sort of makes us all mediocre. But the thing that it does is it makes us think that we're all different. And it makes us think that we're all separate and divided. So it makes us all the same in the way the brain's working, and the sameness of the brain working makes us all think that we're these separate beings. And we're not really participating with the world. We're separate from each other. And we think that we're being objective. But really, we're being projective. We're projecting and dividing ourselves from each other. So we're, yeah, anyway, I don't really know what I'm saying, but I was seeing it more clearly earlier. And I wrote down that I was thinking about when we get to the peak of mania. I don't know if it's the peak, but the point where we feel like I have to save the world. I think that's a misunderstanding of Krishnamurti's statement, I am the world, which most of us aren't aware of. So when we think that we need to save the world, like, because we're all knowing, we need to save this world. I don't think we can save this world. But then when we realize that, then we can put energy into creating our own world. So I think what we do is we do put energy into creating our own world when we go into that subjectivity or perceptivity of mania. And then we get to a certain point where, like, well, with all this that I know now, I can come back and save the world. And it could be true to some extent that we can do some things. But then in order to save that world, we have to leave our own world, our dream world that we created. So we come back to this objective world and the objective world. And so in a way we do come back to try to share some of that. But the thing is, when we're not able to transform or change states, then we get afraid. So we get afraid when our brain starts getting limited again. And if we get afraid, then we call for psychiatric help. And they try to help ensure that they create some kind of system of knowledge that will ensure that we'll never try to do that again. That will eventually see it as some kind of mental illness, when I think it's just the brain changing algorithms. And I had this realization this morning that I was saved by the technology of love. And love is the greatest technology or algorithm. Love is, and it's nothing to do with humans per se. It's the algorithm of the whole universe, and the whole Gaia sphere is love. And we don't know what that is. We've turned love into jealousy and to possession and attachment and things like that, which that's not love. And so it's in a way only by not possessing or not attaching, and this is psychologically. We can still have stuff, but if we're not possessing people psychologically, we're not part of that human theory of mind game that has been created, that we don't have to be a part of. And all of that is part of the reaction of memory. And if we can be still, then we can't be touched. Like, I was realizing that if one doesn't even react in the brain cells, if everything's still when something is moving towards us, it won't know what to do because we're not reacting. So it will stop them. And yeah, I think it's sort of thought wanting to come in and limit this brain or brains like this one in order for their own comfort, because it's quite uncomfortable to go between states. And Yeah, like we are the technology. Humans are the technology. And we're part of the universe, and the universe is the technology, and we think that our human technology that we create is that powerful, but I realize that when that energy comes in, it does make, say there's 6 people around, it makes all those 6 brains act together in the field. So the field and perceiving the field, even if one brain is perceiving it and the others aren't, that brain still is creating a vibe of perceiving the field, which would vibe with the other brain. So they still would pick up on it, even if they're not aware of it. And that would be the field and the human brains and the human beings acting all as one in those moments. And the more of those moments there are, the more it changes the whole algorithm of human consciousness. So it's more powerful to be around people that are open to that, because if they're not, say one is around family and one gets really perceptive and the vibes of that changes the brains of one's family, they don't necessarily want that. They don't want that change. So to be around people who are into consciousness and growth and alignment with oneness is important, because then it's not really that noticeable, because there's no reaction of thought. Like when the other brain cells realize what's happening, the reaction of thought comes powerfully out of them, and they can do mean things to the one who is causing that resonance change, like lashing out at them. And I do think this is part of why psychiatrists, sometimes they say really mean things to people, like stuff I've heard that psychiatrists have said to people over the years. It's not even the psychiatrist, it's not personal. It's thought trying to limit that person and scare them into not ever going into that type of brain algorithm again. Or when they do, turning themselves into the psychiatric authorities to be reconditioned. Man, I don't like loud trucks. One day all this noise pollution will be illegal.